Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Welcome into another edition of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. It is Monday, March 1st, and you know what that means out there. We have some live baseball to actually discuss, as spring training opening day was Sunday, February 28th, and we are also just 1 month away from the regular season opening day, April 1st, coming at us quick and heavy. My goodness gracious, it is fantastic just to say we have made it to March. We are so close to actual baseball games. We've pretty much made it through another offseason here, and we got a lot of stuff to discuss with you here today. We got a great show lined up for you. Here in the first segment, we're going to talk about all the games that took place yesterday, just to get a feel for, live baseball again, kind of what the big takeaways were. Then we're going to talk about potential milestones that could be hit during the 2021 season. And then we're going to wrap things up with American League and National League Cy Young predictions and best bets, long shots, where I think you guys could win some cash here coming up the rest of this season. But jumping right into it, segment number one, like I said, opening day spring training. A lot to get into here. There were 12, 13 games being played. Some of them were better than others, as it was opening day for everybody. But we'll start out with the Pirates and the Orioles. The Pirates won 6-4. Pirates had 6 runs, 8 hits, and 2 errors. Baltimore, 4 runs, 4 hits, and 3 errors. So Baltimore showed that doesn't look like they're going to be a great team this year. Now, of course, it's day one. I mean, what can we take away from the first day? A lot of good, a lot of bad. Of course, none of this means exactly what's going to happen during the regular season, but just 3 errors for Baltimore, not a good start for them. Only 4 hits offensively. One of them did come from Trey Mancini. Shout out to Trey Mancini, who returned after his cancer diagnosis, only to get a hit. He got a standing ovation. It was just nice to see him back in the lineup here and going 1 for 2 on the day here today. On the Baltimore pitching side of things, Eshelman took the loss. He gave up 2 runs, 1 of them earned in 1 inning, as well as Hanold, Rogers, and Matson also gave up 1 run each during their outing, with Hanold giving up 2, but only 1 earned run. On the Pittsburgh side of things, Polanco hit a home run. Frazier also went yard during the day for Baltimore. Diaz went yard on that side of things. Hayes had a double. On the pitching side, Kuhn got the win. 1 inning, 2 hits, 3 strikeouts. But the only guy to give up some runs for Pittsburgh was Fulmer. He went 1 inning, giving up 2 runs out of the bullpen there. So Pittsburgh and Baltimore, the Pirates, get off to a 1-0 start here in spring training. And everybody loves spring training because, of course, there can be ties. And, there was most notably at least 1 tie. 1 here pending, as things are just finally going final. Let's see here. We actually have a winner in the Seattle Padres game as I'm recording late Sunday night. But the Nationals and Cardinals, they finished tied at 4 during their opening day. On the St. Louis side of things, Bader had a double for Washington. Mendoza had a double. No long balls on either side of thing. And then on the mound, Fried gave up 1 run in 1 inning to start out his spring. Everybody else along the board gave up 0 earned runs. There were 2 unearned runs, a blown save by Klobatsits, but that led to 2 of the errors by Washington in the game. On St. Louis's side of things, not a great start for Flaherty. 1 inning, 4 hits, 3 runs, 3 walks. He was all over the place. Again, first time out, trying to find the zone, having a bit of difficulty. So he did not get out to a great start. And then Cabrera gave up the 4th run there for St. Louis. So an interesting start for St. Louis. Didn't want to see that from your ace Flaherty from the jump on his first time out. And then Washington, Kyle Schwarber went 1 for 3 during his first first game with his new team, and be interesting to see how he performs for the 2021 season. Next on the list, we got the Tigers and the Phillies. And man, my Phillies threw up a stinker. First game here, they lose 10-2 to the Detroit Tigers, only having 4 hits, 2 runs. One of the hits was a home run by Adam Hazley. Mickey Moniak had a double. Nice to see him hitting for some extra base hits there. And then from Detroit's side of things, Castro went yard. Pinheiro hit a home run. Haas hit a home run. And a lot of the pitching on Philadelphia's side struggled. Ivan Nova started out. He was only able to get 1 out, gave up 3 hits, a couple of walks. Ultimately, 5 earned runs, puts his ERA at 1.35 as he's trying to make the rotation on a minor league deal. Hannigan, Hale, De Los Santos, and Hammer also gave up runs during their outing. And then on the Detroit side of things, outside of Alexander, who started the game, going 2 innings, giving up a couple of runs, including that home run, Holland, Lange, Kroll, Ross, and Carlton through 5 scoreless innings as they played a total of 7 innings today for the Phillies and Tigers. They waved the white flag after 7 innings, and you got to love spring training, going, hey, it's 10-2. Let's see you guys. We'll move on here. No harm, no foul. The Rays and Braves also played 10 innings. This one was very high scoring as Tampa ultimately prevailed 9-7 over the Braves. 11 hits for the Rays, 8 for the Braves. So a nice game offensively for Tampa Bay. Meadows, Brousseau, and Gray all had home runs their first time out. A couple of doubles by Adames and Pinto, a triple by Gray. So offensively, Gray had himself a day with a home run and a triple. On the pitching side of things, things went well for Ellis from the start, but Spring struggled, 1 inning, 2 runs, and then Rios closing things out, 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 runs, and a blown save. On the Atlanta side of things, they had home runs by Kazmir Jr. He was the only one who went yard, and then the pitching staff, Wright, got off to a tough start on the mound. He went 1 1/3, giving up 4 hits, 3 earned runs on the day, so he struggled right out of the gate there as well. The bullpen, Weigel, 2 runs, 1 inning. Johnstone, Newcomb also gave up a couple of runs. So pitchers still trying to find their footing here early in spring training as they struggled across the board here in day 1. The Red Sox and Twins went at it. The Twins won 7-6 in a high-scoring game there between these two teams. Home runs from Boston side of things. Dalbec went yard. Chavez went yard. Downs went yard for them, a double by Wong as well. And then on the Minnesota side of things, Sano with the only extra base hit on the day. On the bump here for Boston, Eovaldi, 1 1/3, giving up 2 runs. Simpson, 2/3 of an inning, giving up 3 runs. The rest of the bullpen was very good. Bizzardo, Blair, Gonzalez, Gossett, and Orts with scoreless outings. And for Minnesota, the tough outing of the day went to Tyler Duffy. 2/3 of an inning, 4 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk. And then Stashak also giving up 2 runs on 3 hits over the course of an inning. So first time out for these guys, both of them in Fort Myers, Florida. They're going to be seeing a lot of each other here this spring. The Marlins bested the Astros 6-1. So the Marlins get off to a nice start. Both teams had 7 hits. Houston only able to get 1 run across, while Miami did have 6. This was due to the long ball for Miami. Chisom, Brinson, and Bidet all went yard for the Marlins. And then the only extra base hit for the Astros was Tucker. On the pitching side of things, a tough outing by Bilac. 2 innings, 4 hits, 4 runs. Also giving up 2 long balls to start out the day. And then on Miami's side of things, Castano, 2 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, and a solid outing. And Niedertz went 2 scoreless innings to follow him up. So that pitching staff in Miami off to a nice start as Houston sat a bunch of its regulars, not really pushing it here. The Blue Jays and Yankees played a 7-inning game. The Blue Jays won 6-4 in the opener. It was this one was on MLB Network, so you were able to catch it out there across the country. Home runs from Toronto, Warmouth, and a double by Tellez. And then on the New York side of things, Brantley went yard, and Tashman also went deep with Torres with an extra base hit. On the bump for Toronto, a nice start by Kay, 2 innings scoreless, followed up by a tough outing by Wagspack. 1/3 of an inning, 3 hits, 3 runs, giving up 2 long balls. So a tough outing for him first time out. King for the Yankees, he struggled from the start. 2 innings, 3 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks. Followed up by Wojciechowski, 1 inning, 3 hits and a run by him. But none of the big names really there for the Yankees. LeMahieu 1 for 2, Judge 0 for 2, Voit 0 for 2, Sanchez 0 for 2, Frazier 0 for 2. So offensively, the Yankees not getting a ton done here. First time out. The Indians and the Reds went at it. They finished after 8 innings here in the opener, with the Indians winning 5-1, getting off to a nice start. For Cincinnati, only 1 extra base hit, and that was Farmer with a double. On the Cleveland side of things, no long balls in this one, but Jimenez did have a triple. And then on the mound, De Leon for Cincinnati. 2 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, a couple of walks. He was able to work around those. And then a nice outing by the bullpen until the 8th when Pittich went one inning, 3 hits, 2 runs, and 2 walks in the inning. So struggled to find the zone. For Cleveland, Quantrill had a nice start. 2 innings, no runs. McKenzie followed him with 1 2/3, only giving up 1 run. And the Cleveland pitching staff really held down Cincinnati once again in a 5-1 victory here. First time out for the spring. The Dodgers and the Athletics. The Dodgers win this one 2-1. And low-scoring game. This was really the only super low-scoring matchup first time out here. Pitching staffs on both sides did an excellent job over their 7-inning game. Davidson went yard for the Dodgers in the 7th inning to basically give them the win in the top of the 7th. And from the Oakland side of things, no extra base hits, and they only had 2 hits on the day. So Oakland's offense really struggled. The Dodgers pitching staff was fantastic. Kickman, Uceda, Santana, Clevinger, Jackson, and Grove, as Clevinger gave up an unearned run. So the run that Oakland had was unearned as well. But Oakland's staff was just as good. Weems gave up 1 run in 1 inning, and then Angelo, again, with the loss in the top of the 7th, giving up the long ball. But Bracewell, Acevedo, Jimenez, Caprielin, and Jeffries, all with scoreless outings, their first time out. So you have to be encouraged if you're an Oakland fan based on some of the performances by those kids. The Angels and Dodgers played themselves a 7-inning game, with the Angels coming out on top by a score of 5-2. No Mike Trout in the lineup for Anaheim here, or Los Angeles of Anaheim, whatever you want to call it. But double by Regafino. And then on the San Francisco side of things, Flores with the only extra base hit. On the pitching side of things, Quintana, he went 1 scoreless inning, did walk a guy. But the only guy who struggled was Garrett Reyes. 1/3 of an inning, 2 hits, 1 walk, 2 runs. And those were the only 2 runs San Francisco was able to get on the day. San Francisco's pitching staff, Menez, started with a scoreless inning, but Little and Jackson behind him, giving up a couple of runs each over the course of their outings, 1 run at a time, or 1 inning at a time. The Royals and Rangers. The Royals win by a score of 3-2. Texas only had 5 hits, scoring 2 runs. Kansas City with 11 hits, but only leading to 3 runs over the course of their 6th-inning matchup. Again, love spring training, 6 innings, 7 innings, 8 innings, all over the place when it comes to how long the games are. Joey Gallo did homer in Game 1, his first of the spring, of course. Nice to see him hitting the long ball. He had 2 RBIs, so that was where the 2 runs came from for Texas. And then on the Kansas City side of things, O'Hearn went deep, as well as Salvador Perez hitting home runs first time out. So 11 hits, only 3 runs, both of them coming off the long ball. And that was just kind of 2021 in a nutshell. The only way they're scoring is the home run. So Vincent, Wood, and Gatto for Texas giving up 1 run each. And then Irvin Santana for Kansas City trying to work his way back. 2 innings, 1 hit, 2 earned runs as he gave up the long ball to Joey Gallo in the top of the first. But then the rest of the staff was able to settle down after that. 3 more matchups to go through here. The Brewers beat the White Sox 7-2 over the course of 6 innings. Home runs by Hiura, Taylor, Garcia, as well as Cousins for Milwaukee led to their 7-run outburst. On the White Sox side of things, only 2 runs on 4 hits as the offense struggled. One of them was a long ball. It was a 2-run shot for Engel, and that's the only way the White Sox were able to get on the board. Lauer went 1 inning for Milwaukee, giving up 2 hits, 2 runs. The rest of the staff was able to pitch a shutout. Topa, Perdomo, Sanchez, Small, and Ashby. And then on the White Sox side of things, Wright had a tough start, going 1 inning, 2 hits, 1 walk, and a total of 3 runs. And Sosa giving up 3 hits and 2 runs during his 1-inning outing. So a lot of guys just getting time here early on, trying to find their way. trying to find the zone. But the Rockies were able to beat the Diamondbacks by a score of 5-2. They played 8 innings against the Rockies here today. Let's see. Offensively, a double by Calhoun, home run by Thompson for Arizona. On Colorado's side of things, it was McMahon with a double for the extra base hits on the bump for Arizona. Clark and Frankoff both struggled, going 2 innings and giving up a couple of runs each during their outing. And then on the Colorado side of things, Gonzalez struggled as the first one out of the pen. 1 inning, 3 hits, 2 runs allowed for Gonzalez. And then the final matchup of the day, that was the Mariners and the Padres. They went the full 9 with a walk-off win for the Mariners in the bottom of the 9th. Seattle did have 3 errors that they were able to work around. White had himself a double, as well as Mola Mijos had a double. And then on San Diego's side of things, Myers and Ona went deep. On the pitching side, Gonzalez went 2 innings, giving up 1 run. It was unearned at the time. Graveman, Middleton, Misak, and then Mills with a blown save. 1 inning, 2 hits, 2 runs, as the rest of the pen was able to shut things down. And then starter Morjon for San Diego. 2 innings, 1 run. And Williams out of the pen, 2 innings, 3 runs. Were the guys who struggled, pitching-wise for San Diego. But I know that was quick. I know I went through a lot, kind of skipped over the big things. Just wanted to run through some box scores with you guys. As we get more games, more storylines to talk about for Thursday's episode, I'll slow it down, break it down, kind of see what's going on as some trends start here. But I just wanted to rifle through, fire through, and discuss with you guys opening day spring training to let you guys know all the outcomes there. But that'll do it for the first segment of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. We'll step aside right now for a word from one of our sponsors and one of our sister shows. But when we come back, I'm going to talk to you guys about potential milestones that could be reached here during the 2021 regular season. So stick around, everyone. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. We'll be right back.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Welcome back, and thanks again for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. If you guys haven't checked us out on social media yet, please do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. First, go to Twitter, type in GSMC Baseball, click that follow button. We'll keep you guys up to date when all the latest episodes are released, what's going on across the league, everything you need to know. Then head over to Facebook, do the same thing, GSMC Baseball. And then last, head over to LinkedIn and follow the GSMC Podcast Network. That'll help you guys stay up to date with everything going on across baseball. And then on LinkedIn, keep you guys up to date with everything going on out there, as the Podcast Network has a ton of fantastic shows to keep you guys up to date with everything taking place across sports, news, whatever it is. They'll keep you guys in the know, so you're up to date with everything going on here. But here in segment number 2, wanted to talk to you guys about milestones that could be hit here in 2021. The shortened season in 2020 obviously left some people from some further milestones. No longer, 300 wins for Verlander, 2,500 strikeouts for Greinke. The shortened season really put a damper into a lot of this stuff, but as I was working with baseballreference.com, I came across a ton of different milestones that could be hit this year, and I just wanted to give you guys a preview so you could follow along. A month into the season to all the way in September, a lot of these could be reached or just barely missed when it comes to this upcoming season. We'll start out with offensive milestones, then we'll head over to the pitching side of things, because a lot more statistical categories when it comes to offense here. But starting out with runs scored, Albert Pujols could reach 2,000 runs scored for his career. He is 157 shy of that milestone. Again, that may be a bit for Albert the way he's performing here late in his career, but it would be an excellent milestone. And then Miguel Cabrera is 43 away from 1,500 runs scored. Now, when you get down to 1,000 runs scored, a lot of these could be hit this year. Andrew McCutchen needs 26, Sin-So Choo 39, Nelson Cruz needs 48, Matt Kemp, Mike Trout, both need in the 50s, Zimmerman, Longoria, Gardner, Elvis Andrus could all reach 1,000 runs scored for their career, and you'll probably get a little bit of a theme here when it comes to the names that are being read out. Albert Pujols, who would need 157 to reach 2,000, he is currently 16th all-time in runs scored, and if he hits 2,000, he would become the 9th player ever to reach that mark. Alex Rodriguez, Willie Mays, Pete Rose, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Ty Cobb, and Ricky Henderson are the others, so he would join an exclusive group there, and you have Camp Anson at 1,999. So Albert Pujols needs 157. I don't think he gets there, but I do think Miguel Cabrera gets his 43 to ultimately get to 1,500 runs scored in his fantastic Major League career. Next on the list, we have hits. Who's going to hit these milestones? We have Miguel Cabrera, 134 shy of 3,000 hits. This is, this would put him into rarefied air. Only 32 players ever have done this. Albert Pujols is the only active player. He's at 3,236. He only needs 7 more to get to 14th place, and where he is compared to the other guys, I think he could finish all the way up in potentially the top 10 when it comes to his career. But Cabrera currently tied for 46th all-time. I think he could make his way up to close to that 3,000 mark with 134 this year. Now, Nick Marchakis, he needs 112 to hit 2,500 hits in his career. This would still be a fantastic milestone to hit for Marchakis. And honestly, I think he's a bit underrated. I would not have put his name out there if you said, hey, who's close to 2,500 hits this year? Marchakis would not have been one of the first ones to come to mind. Joey Votto needs 92 to reach 2,000 for his career. I think Joey Votto gets there. And then there are quite a few very close to 1,500. Hosmer should get there. Bruce, Carlos Gonzalez. We have Michael Brantley, Paul Goldschmidt should all reach that milestone. But the alert is on for Miguel Cabrera at 134 hits this year to reach the 3,000 for his career, and again, become the, 33rd professional to ever do it in Major League Baseball. Next on the list, we got home runs. Where are we at with home runs? A lot of guys could hit some milestones for their career. Miguel Cabrera needs 13 to hit 500 home runs. So Miggy in the same year could reach 3,000 hits and could reach 500 home runs. Only an exclusive group of guys have ever done that in their careers, so that would be fascinating to see. Of course, Albert Pujols, he's not at a milestone, but he has 662, and he would need 34 to tie Alex Rodriguez for 4th place, and of course 38 to reach 700 home runs, but I think that would be a bit ambitious for Albert this year. And again, he may be retiring after the season, so he's going to finish 5th all-time on the home run mark. Miguel Cabrera is currently at 30th in home runs at 487 for his career. Robinson Cano needs 16 home runs to reach 350 career home runs. Now, again, who knows with Cano? He's had suspensions, injuries to deal with. I don't know where to put his over-under at for this year, but only needs 600 to reach 350. You have a couple of guys within striking distance of 300. Chris Davis and Joey Votto both have 295 career home runs, so each of them needs 5 to reach that 300 mark, which I certainly feel is doable for them. And then Matt Kemp, currently at 287, needs 13 home runs to reach that mark. Now, a bunch of guys close to the 250 mark. Paul Goldschmidt at 249, Andrew McCutchen 243, Carlos Santana, Freddie Freeman both at 240, and then you have J.D. Martinez and Nolan Arenado at 238 and 235. So I think you're going to see 6 guys reach 250 home runs for their career when it comes to this season. So it's certainly not the 500 Miguel Cabrera is going for, but you are going to see upwards of 6 to 9 guys reach 250 or 300 for their careers, which certainly nothing to sneeze at when it comes to career home runs. Because if you get to 300, I mean, Mike Trout right now at 302 is 149 on the all-time list, so only 151 guys in the history of baseball have hit 300 home runs, and Davis, Votto, and Kemp could join that club here this year as well. Continuing offensively, like I said, a bunch of categories here, and then only a couple at the end of the list when it comes to the pitching side of things. But RBIs, this one, not a lot of names on these milestones, but Albert Pujols is currently 3rd all-time with 2,100 even RBIs. He would need 115 to move into sole second place. Babe Ruth has 2,214. So is Albert Pujols going to get to 115 this year? If he does, he would move up to second. But Miguel Cabrera needs 21 in order to hit 1,750. And honestly, I think he's going to hit, 100 RBI, so he should hit 1,800 for his career this year, which would vault him into 22nd all-time in RBIs. And then you have 4 guys close to 1,000 career RBIs. Joey Votto needs 34, which he should get. Justin Upton and Jay Bruce, 41 and 52 are left. And then Yadier Molina needs 68 to reach 1,000 RBIs. So I don't know if Bruce is going to get there in a pinch hitting role, minor league deal. But Votto, Upton, and Molina, if they do play a full 162, should all reach 1,000 RBIs for their career here in 2021. Next, we're talking total bases. Albert Pujols, again, a lot of the same names just because it's, a lot of guys older, later on in their career. He is currently 5th all-time in total bases, and he is 77 shy of 6,000. Now, looking at the total bases here, he is, let's see if I can do quick math, 214 shy of second place all-time. Albert, like I said, 5,923. And to get to second place, he would need 6,135. So if he has a good year offensively, he could climb even higher in the all-time offensive ranks. Now, Miguel Cabrera needs 58 to reach 5,000 total bases. He would be the 22nd player all-time to do that and should have no problem if he stays healthy. A handful of guys are looking to reach the 3,000 total base mark. Andrew McCutchen needs 113. Yadier Molina, 124. Jay Bruce, 220. Sin-Shu Chu, 278. And then Asdrubal Cabrera needs 308. And then a lot of guys are going to get to that 2,000 mark. Names like Josh Donaldson, Jose Abreu, Todd Frazier, Matt Carpenter, Mike Moustakas, Christian Yelich could all reach 2,000 career total bases for their career here in 2021. Next up, we have doubles. 700 doubles. Albert Pujols needs 31 to reach 700. He would be the 5th all-time player to do so. Miguel Cabrera needs 19 to reach 600 doubles. And Robinson Cano needs 29 to reach 600 doubles. So Pujols, Cabrera, Cano could reach at least 600. Only a total of 17 guys have currently done that in their career. Evan Longoria, Yadier Molina, Daniel Murphy, Asdrubal Cabrera, and Edwin Encarnacion could all reach 400 career doubles during the 2021 season. All of those guys need 30 or less to reach 400 doubles, and I think that's something that we could certainly see here over the course of this summer. When it comes to stolen bases, this is the last one here offensively. We have Brett Gardner, who is 30 shy of 300 for his career. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but it would still put you right around the top 150 to ever do it. So not a lot of stolen base guys still out there in today's game. Andrew McCutchen needs 9 to reach 200. Cameron Maybin, Matt Kemp, Gene Segura, Lorenzo Cain could also reach 200 this year, but stolen base is kind of a lost art when it comes to milestones in 2021. Now, games played, if Albert Pujols plays in 138 games, he will reach 3,000 for his career. Only 8 players have ever played in 3,000 games. A lot of the names at the top: Pete Rose, Carl Yastrzemski, Hank Aaron, Ricky Anderson. You guys know them. Miguel Cabrera needs 43 to hit 2,500. And Edwin Encarnacion needs 40 games to reach 2,000. And, of course, this is strictly a longevity type of milestone. Nothing to do with stats, just being healthy, being in the lineup. And a lot of names are at that 1,500 mark. So it just goes to show you, like Freddie Freeman, Eric Hosmer, Daniel Murphy, and Pujols potentially trying to double that mark to get to 3,000 here in 2021. It'll be fascinating to kind of follow along and see if he is able to reach that mark. Now, on the pitching side of things, the 3 I wanted to look at were strikeouts, saves, and wins. And 300 wins does seem to be off the table when it comes to the pitching side of things. I mean, people who are still active, Justin Verlander is highest on the list, and he has 226. Now, again, with his most recent arm injury, he's not going to play this year. He got hurt again last year. That really hurt him in regards to his chase of reaching 250. Next on the active list, you have Zach Greinke at 208. People are talking about potentially he could get to 250 for his career, but not a lot of people are sure. So when it comes to actual milestones, the closest one this year is John Lester. He needs 7 wins to reach 200 for his career. I think he gets his 7 with Washington. Irvin Santana, who we talked about most recently signing in Kansas City, needs 1 win to reach 150 for his career. And then you have quite a few guys who are within striking distance of 100 career wins. Most notably, Corey Kluber. He would need 2 wins to reach that mark. He should get there. Jordan Zimmerman needs 5. Charlie Morton needs 7. Dallas Keuchel needs 10. Carlos Carrasco needs 12. And Trevor Cahill needs 15 to reach 100 for their wins. So again, 300, not sure it's ever going to happen again. Based on how quickly guys are pulled, they don't go deep in games. A lot of injuries taking place. Max Scherzer has 175, so I don't think he's going to get to 25 and 200. Clayton Kershaw has 175. So it's just, man, not a lot of milestones, but John Lester should get to 200 with 7 wins this year. As well as strikeouts, Lester, he needs 103 to reach 2,500 for his career. That's going to be the highest one here. Verlander over 3,000. Max Scherzer needs 200 plus to reach 3,000. I don't think he's going to get there. Zach Greinke, 3,000, would need over 300 over the course of his career. But a couple of lower level milestones. David Price is only 19 strikeouts away from 2,000 in his career, and then 1,500 strikeouts. I think you're going to see a lot of names reach this mark this year. A lot of names you'll recognize. Corey Kluber needs 38. Jeff Samardzija needs 51. Garrett Cole only needs 70 to reach 1,500 in his career. Lance Lynn and Yu Darvish should both get there this year. Jacob DeGrom, Chris Archer, Jake Arrieta all have the potential, if they're able to get upwards of 150 strikeouts, to reach 1,500 for their career and reach that halfway mark. And then lastly here, talking about saves. Let's see, 300 saves is in reach for Aroldis Chapman. He needs 24 more to reach this milestone of 300. Craig Kimbrell only needs 2 to reach 350. He is currently 12th all-time with 348. Kenley Jansen has 312, so he could hit that 325 mark. But really the only major milestones are Aroldis Chapman, and if he gets 24 for the Yankees, he'll reach 300 for his career here. So hopefully you guys like that segment. You mark down some of the guys. Pujols, Cabrera, really at the top of the list as they're at the end of their career. Could hit a bunch of different milestones. Total bases, runs scored, hits, RBIs, doubles, home runs. But it'll be nice to follow along this year and root for those guys to reach those marks. But that'll do it here for the second segment of the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. We'll step aside one more time here for a word from one of our sponsors and one of our sister shows. But when we come back, I'll talk to you guys about the National League Cy Young Award, who I think is the favorite, or I'll tell you who the favorite is based on the odds, and then give you my long shot, who I like you could win some money off of. So stick around, everyone. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. We'll be right back after this.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello again. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. It is a beautiful March 1st. We've made it to the month of March. Spring training is underway. Games are going on every day. Today's the first day. The Fightin' Phils. The Philadelphia Phillies are on for me to watch on television. I know you guys out there, wherever your local market is, they should have some of the games on. I think 12 Phillies games out of the 30 or 28 that they are playing will be televised, but it's going to be fun to watch. I'm sure there's a bunch of storylines to follow, and we're going to get all into that in future episodes, future shows where I talk about who's going to win position battles, what's going to happen here moving forward. But here in segments 3 and 4, I do want to continue my talk through the best bets. I've been taking a gambling side of things. I talked about MVPs, over-unders. Well, now I want to get into the Cy Young. I want to talk about the futures bets with the National League Cy Young, who the favorites are, who a sleeper could be, some of the best long shots out there. And I'm going to run through a ton of names here, give you guys everybody that's on the list, all the way from the favorite in the National League, Jacob DeGrom at plus 500. And what plus 500 means, if you guys are novice gamblers out there, essentially it is for every $100 bet, you would win $500, all the way up to plus 8,000, which means if you bet $100, you would win $8,000. And you can use that ratio all the way down to $1. So if you bet $10, you'd win $800. If you bet $1, you could win $80 if it's plus 800. And then, to the favorite, plus 500 for Jacob DeGrom at the top of the list. But now that's, of course, where we'll start. Jacob DeGrom, last year, Trevor Bauer won the award in the National League, and he stays in the National League now with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He is currently third on the list at the top here, but DeGrom finished second last year, multiple Cy Young Award winner. Certainly makes sense that he's at the top. He continues to get better. He is in his prime. Early word in spring training is that his velocity has been fantastic. He's upper 90s. It's just, it's tough to bet against a guy like Jacob DeGrom just due to his consistency and the fact that the Mets have been so bad the last number of years, and he was still able to win the Cy Young Award. I remember, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, he was like 4-2 halfway through the year, but his ERA was like 1.5, and he was still the favorite for the award, while other guys had 10, 11, 12 victories at that point, and it was just one of those things where the only time the Mets had a chance to win was when DeGrom was throwing, and his offense was so bad and didn't give him any run support. Well, that should change with the moves they've made. They've added Francisco Lindor, James McCann. People expect Pete Alonso to bounce back, and if DeGrom continues to perform like he can and the offense scores runs for him, and he's looking at a potential 20-win season, 15 to 20 wins, and that ERA is 2.2, 2.5, 1.8, somewhere down the line there, I think it certainly makes sense that he could win the award for, I believe, a third time here in his career. Next on the list, we have Max Scherzer. He is plus 700 at second place. Now, again, these numbers can fluctuate based on where the money comes into Vegas or whatever local sports book you're using, whether it's legal in your state or using some offshore sports books. That's up to you. Don't want to go comment either way on that, but in Pennsylvania, it is legal here. So I'm able to put some cash down on a couple of different sports books. But Scherzer at plus 700, if he can bounce back and stay healthy for Washington, personally, I don't think that's as good of value as DeGrom at 500. Yes, I know Scherzer's fantastic, a multiple-time winner in the past, but Washington's offense leaves a little to be desired for me personally. I know Juan Soto could be the MVP on the offensive side, but outside of him, I just think there's too many holes 1 through 9 when it comes to Washington's lineup, and you're looking at kind of that DeGrom syndrome, to where Scherzer could be 8-1, but DeGrom could have 15 wins at that point. And if it's close, I think they're going to give it to the guy with a ton more victories. If the ERAs are comparable, strikeouts are comparable, all the other different categories are comparable, I think the team wins and individual wins could be a differentiator. Now for number 3 and number 4 on the list, we're going to go out to the Dodgers. Trevor Bauer and Walker Bueller. Bauer is plus 800 to repeat as a Cy Young. And personally, I don't think he's going to be as good as he was last year. And as well because it was a shortened season and he was going into a contract year. So the motivation was astronomical for Trevor Bauer to go out and shove. Now, I know he has opt-out clauses after every year with his Dodger contract, but next year he's already scheduled to make 45. So even if he were to opt out, he's not going to get more than that on a one-year basis, which lends me to believe that this is a 2-year agreement in Bauer's mind. So I don't think his motivation is going to be as high as it was last year, as well as the competition. I mean, the National League Central last year, the Cubs were not very good. The Brewers struggled. I mean, the Reds finished, where did they? They won the division, finished second place. I'm drawing a blank here in regards to where everybody finished there. But the NL Central was quite the weak division, and with the pandemic not playing outside of the Central, going over to the American League as well, I just think the NL West is going to give him some trouble. I like San Diego. They're going to play a ton of games against him. San Francisco's offense, Arizona's offense, as well as just, playing outside of your division and more starts, I think could be tough for Trevor Bauer. Now, Walker Bueller, he doesn't have the contract to worry about, but he's a younger kid continuing to just improve, and he hasn't won a Cy Young before, which is clearly on his career goals. He wants to be talked about in the conversation with Scherzer, with DeGrom, with Bauer, as somebody who's an ace and a lockdown starter. So I think plus 1,000 isn't bad value for Walker Bueller, but I also think it's going to be one of those where if Clayton Kershaw is very good, Trevor Bauer is very good, Walker Bueller is very good, you could water down, just kind of his argument based on his teammates. He's not going to be carrying his team. And the Cy Young is as much of an MVP for pitchers as an MVP is, because we saw last year with Bieber not winning the MVP. It's going to be a long time before I think they win the MVP again. So it's kind of an MVP among the pitching staff. And that's where with 2 other guys in the rotation that I think are going to be very good as well, Bueller isn't going to be able to differentiate himself to the point where he has, that argument that he should win the Cy Young. Now we start to get into our value conversation. This is where you start to get into some of the sleeper picks, some of the long shots potentially here moving forward, as all of these guys are plus 1,000 or higher. Starting out with Yu Darvish for the Padres. He's at plus 1,000. But one guy out there I've seen a couple of experts pick is Aaron Nola of the Philadelphia Phillies. He is plus 1,200. And honestly, Nola, he leaves a little bit to be desired because most recently, the past couple of years, he's had kind of a September swoon. He struggled down the stretch, but if he's finally able to take that next step and continue his dominance into the month of September, if he's able to stay healthy, because he battled some arm injuries in the past, which led to a decline in production, I think he could also benefit from that. And if the team is good, he could be in that conversation. I also like Luis Castillo at plus 1,200 for the Cincinnati Reds. With Bauer moving on, they made some additional moves, didn't bring anybody else in of substance. And if the Reds are able to compete and contend in the National League Central, I think Castillo is going to get a lot of credit when it comes to the Reds if they're able to win that division. Right here in this area, you also have Blake Snell, Jack Flaherty, and Max Fried, all at plus 1,500 when it comes to the odds. Now, I did like Flaherty at plus 1,500. And again, don't want to overreact based on first time out in spring training, but his first start did leave a little bit to be desired. All over the place, has some mechanical things to work on, but this is what the spring is for. You know, I wasn't able to watch the game, but maybe he was working on a changeup or a fourth pitch to try to improve. A lot of pitching staff say, hey, throw your cutter now. Even in a real live regular season game, I know you wouldn't do it during a 2-0 count, but I want you to throw 2-0 breaking balls. I want you to throw 2-0 changeups. And then you go 3-0 and you walk a guy when during the regular season you would just pump a fastball in the zone to stay ahead. But I like Flaherty at plus 1,500. I like Castillo at plus 12. Blake Snell at plus 1,500, previous Cy Young winner in the American League, but I don't know. I'm not buying him at plus 1,500. Now you're getting into the plus 2,000s. This is where total long shots come in. I wouldn't recommend putting $100, but if you want to put 10 on it to win 250 or 20 to win $500, be my guest here. But as we get down the list, a lot of big names are still within this area. I mean, you have Steven Strasburg plus 2,000, Clayton Kershaw plus 2,000, Charlie Morton, Brandon Woodruff, and Mike Soroka are all plus 2,500. And then at plus 3,000, you have Dinelson Lamet, Patrick Corman, and Germain Marquis at plus 3,000. So those guys are still within the top 15 when it comes to the odds. But, I'm not putting money on any of them. Maybe Strasburg coming off of his injury. He should be healthy. He should be ready to go after missing last year. Morton, I don't think will be that good. Soroka, I don't think any of the Braves guys are going to be Cy Young style material. And then we're down to the next category. These are the super long shots. Anybody over plus 3,000. They're obviously that high because they're good starting pitchers, but they're not exactly Cy Young caliber. And the next level, plus 3,500, you have some good guys here. These are long shots I may not, hate putting $20 on to win $700. It's Sonny Gray from Cincinnati, Sixto Sanchez of the Marlins, Zach Wheeler of the Phillies, and then you have Corbin Burns of the Milwaukee Brewers. I've seen Corbin Burns on some lists here as a potential long shot due to his strikeout to walk ratio, swing and miss stuff. His ERA and stats really didn't reflect how dominant he was during 2020. And then you have Sixto Sanchez. He came on, lit the world on fire during his first 6 starts of his rookie season. Came back to earth a little bit as guys started to make adjustments, but he throws 100 miles an hour easy, has a devastating changeup. If the Marlins are able to contend and Sixto is able to have an 18-5 record, an ERA in the 2.5s, he's certainly going to be in consideration, and that plus 3,500 is really going to decline quickly, and that's where I like the preseason value on the plus 3,500s. But now we're getting into plus 5,000, plus 6,000, plus 8,000. We'll run through the list here, see if there's any names that jump out at you guys in regards to potential value. One of the guys I have here, Josh Hader, is at plus 5,000 for the Brewers. And if a relief pitcher is going to be up for Cy Young consideration, I think it could be Josh Hader because Milwaukee's going to use him to get out of big-time jams, get a lot of big-time outs, and people understand that when you throw in big-time pressure situations, there's a lot more value when it comes to these particular outs. You also have Musgrove for San Diego, Stroman in New York, Syndergaard in New York, Gosman at plus 6,600 for San Francisco. I've seen him on a list or two of people saying, hey, throw $10 on him to win $600+ potentially. And then the long shots here are Chris Paddock, Kyle Hendricks, Gray from the Rockies, and David Price for the Dodgers, who sat out all of last year at plus 8,000. So, at the top of the list, I think DeGrom is the smart money at plus 500, kind of like Mike Trout when it comes to American League MVP. I don't think you can feel bad about yourself for betting on DeGrom to win the National League Cy Young Award. If it's not DeGrom, I do like, let's see here, Walker Bueller at plus 1,000 over Trevor Bauer when it comes to the Dodgers. And, some of the long shot sleepers, just to wrap things up, Aaron Nola plus 1,200 is kind of in that middle mark. Jack Flaherty plus 1,500 right there. Luis Castillo plus 1,500. And then the super long shots, I may throw a couple of shekels on. Sixto Sanchez. You have Kevin Gausman plus 6,600. Josh Hader plus 5,000. And Corbin Burns at plus 3,500. I think could be outside of the box value bets when it comes to the National League Cy Young. So, who on the list did you guys think, should we put some money on? I'm open for discussions here. Leave us a comment, write us a review. I want to ask you guys as we wrap up the third segment that wherever you're listening to this podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, whether it's Spotify, Apple Play, Google Play. I know these are on YouTube. We had a comment from a gentleman on YouTube not too long ago out there. So we're continuing to expand our platforms, Pandora, Alexa, whatever it may be. If you're listening to this baseball podcast, do me a favor, check out other podcasts within the network as well. Type in GSMC Podcast Network, and that'll bring up a ton of different shows. Not just baseball. We got the National Hockey League going at it. The NBA is about to have their All-Star game. The NFL's off-season, but free agency is going to start soon. A lot of guys are getting cut. And if it's not just sports you're into, they got books, they got news, they got cars, they got politics. We got it all here within the podcast network. So just type in GSMC and scroll through all the different shows that'll bring you guys great quality content. But that'll do it for the third segment here of the GSMC Baseball Podcast. We'll step aside one last time for a word from one of our sponsors and one of our sister shows. But when we come back, we'll wrap things up talking about the American League Cy Young. Is anybody going to be able to upset Shane Bieber? Stay tuned and find out.
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
Again for listening, and welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. As always, hopefully you guys have enjoyed today's episode. We just wrapped up talking about the National League Cy Young, where I think you guys can find your best bets, the greatest value, and some long shots that may be worth putting, $5, $10, $15, $20 on to win you guys some cash here during the 2021 season. Well, now here in the final segment, we're going to talk about the American League side of things. And this one here, I think it's going to be an interesting race. I know in the National League, I kind of said, hey, Jacob DeGrom, he's the best bet. Plus 500. I like his odds. I like where they're at. You might as well throw $100 down, see what happens. And if he ultimately doesn't win the award, you can't feel bad about not putting money on Jacob DeGrom based on what he's done the past handful of years. Well, in the American League, there's been a bit of some newcomers. Shane Bieber really came out of nowhere. He was a very good pitcher, but was nowhere near at the level he was last year, which was basically unhittable for the entire shortened season. And I found it slightly surprising that he doesn't come in as the favorite in the American League. And you guys could probably figure out which name is the favorite, and that is Garrett Cole of the New York Yankees. He was the favorite going into last season, his first season in New York after signing that massive contract, coming off his time with the Astros. But Garrett Cole is currently plus 350 in regards to the odds. And honestly, I still don't know if I like Garrett Cole to win the Cy Young. There's just something about Yankee Stadium that really resonates with me because I've been there in person. I've seen it live in person. I've also seen it on television. But there are just too many routine fly balls, in my opinion, that should be F9s or fly outs to the right fielder that just end up in the first couple of rows. And all you need for this to happen is have a couple of guys on base over the course of 81 home games for Cole. It happens, once every 20 games. So we'll call it 4 times where he gives up a 3-run home run or a grand slam that goes into row 2, row 3 in right field. That ultimately should have been an out. But those are going to be 9, 12 runs that are going to be earned for Cole that ultimately shouldn't have, which could jump your ERA. And when you're talking about a list that is going to be this tight at the top, if it could push your ERA from even a 2.2 up to a 2.7, that could be enough to keep you out of the list. Now, I do believe he's going to have the strikeouts in order to get to be in the conversation. Of course, he's going to strike out 200 plus. The Yankees are going to win a ton of games. I have them winning over 100 games. Garrett Cole is going to be a big factor in that, so he could be 15 to 20 wins on the year, which those two things alone put you into the conversation. But I think if somebody else has that super low ERA of 2.1, 1.9, and Cole's is maybe 2.7 due to giving up 15, 20 home runs on the year as opposed to 10, which somebody else has, I think it could be enough to swing it the other way. Now, I certainly, again, see the argument and see why he's at the top of the list, but I just don't know. I don't think that's going to be the best use of your money in the American League. Now, Shane Bieber is second on the list at plus 375, so right below Garrett Cole. Those guys are basically at the top two. Pick one, right? It's going to be a $25 difference betting $100, but is Bieber going to be able to maintain the success that he had last year? Or are people going to finally be able to watch film, watch the way he attacked them, and make that adjustment to that first time where Bieber really was dominant at that level? Because, again, Bieber had been very good, but he started to figure out how to tunnel his fastball and his breaking ball coming on the same plane. And then the fastball stays at the top of the zone. The breaking ball ends up at the bottom of the zone, which, of course, makes it extremely difficult to hit. But our players with an offseason, our coaches with scouting reports now, understanding tendencies in certain counts, is he going to have that same level of success that he had last year to be able to dominate? But the flip side of that is the team that he is pitching for, the Indians, are they going to be good enough for him to win the award? If Garrett Cole has 22 wins and a 2.7 ERA, if Bieber is kind of the Jacob DeGrom argument, if he is 10-2 but has a 2.2 ERA, is that going to be enough to jump over Garrett Cole and not have the victories but have every other statistical category be arguable? It's kind of a fascinating quirk that you're going to have to wait and see, where Cole's going to have the team, the wins, and everything behind him, maybe a slightly higher ERA, but Bieber could have a better ERA, more strikeouts, and just not have the wins to come with it. So those two guys at the top obviously are the top two. Next on the list, you have Lucas Giolito. He is third at plus 500. He had a no-hitter last year, struggled out of the gate, but then certainly figured things out. I like the White Sox this year. If you guys listened to the last episode, I have them hitting the over big time, 100-plus wins. I think they're going to be the 1 seed in the American League. And if Giolito is the ace of that staff, he's certainly going to be at the top of the list when it comes to Cy Young conversation. But I think a few of his teammates may have something to say about that. And I think there's more value with some of his teammates, because as we work down the list here, in fourth place is Tyler Glasnow with the Rays at plus 800. I don't like that bet at all. I don't think Glasnow is going to be in the Cy Young conversation. watching him in the postseason last year. I mean, the guy's got fantastic stuff. Don't get me wrong. A great pitcher, fantastic pitcher, but just going up against the offense of the Yankees in that division, the offense of the Blue Jays in that division, that could be another reason why Cole gives up a couple of home runs. Glass now gives up a few runs just due to the competition. So I don't think his odds should be that low, even though I do think he's a fantastic starter and is now clearly the ace of the Rays when it comes to moving on from Snell and all the other moves they've made, moving on from Morton. So Glass now, if the Rays make a run, is going to be a big reason why they're going to be up for that potential award. And then next on the list, Hyun-Jin Ryu at plus 1,000. And Ryu did surprise me last year during his first year in Toronto. I didn't think he would have that same level of success in the American League that he did in the National League with the Dodgers when he had, a 1.8 ERA, winning a ton of games out there. He was excellent for Toronto again. And if Toronto takes that next step, he's going to be a big reason why at the top of that rotation, because they have a lot of prospects, a lot of quality starters, but not a lot at that ace level. But once again, going against the Rays, going against the Yankees, that's a tough bet for me to put my money on Hyun-Jin Ryu at plus 1,000 for the American League Cy Young Award. So the best bet out of the top five for me would be either Bieber or Cole. I would probably just say put it on Cole just to be safe due to the track record. But really in the American League, I find the value here on the second and third tier individuals when it comes to starting pitching. And the next jump is all the way up to plus 2,000, where you have a group of four individuals. You have Jose Barrios from the Twins, Lance Lynn of the White Sox, Corey Kluber of the Yankees, and Kenta Maeda of the Twins, all at plus 2,000. I love Jose Barrios. I love his wiffle ball, breaking ball. I've been waiting for him to really kind of take that next step in his career and become a shutdown ace. Hasn't done that yet. He's had spurts where he's been fantastic, but he also has that start or two here or there where you get 2-3 innings, 4 runs because he can't find the zone, can't mix multiple pitches in multiple locations. Now, Lance Lynn at plus 2,000 for the White Sox, I think could be a really good bet. He's been underrated as a starting pitcher for the Rangers. I mean, that was a bad ball club that he was throwing very, very well for. You now put him with that offense in Chicago. He stays healthy. He's a horse. He gets a ton of strikeouts. He's going to be at the top of that conversation. So I like Lance Lynn and his value at plus 2,000. Corey Kluber coming off an injury, I would have to stay away from. Kenta Maeda in Minnesota. Again, if I had to pick somebody from the Twins, I would lean Barrios when it comes to both of them at plus 2,000 and where that value is. But then you have Dallas Keuchel, plus 2,500. He's in the next tier. With Keuchel, you have Gonzalez from Seattle, Sale in Boston, Luzardo from Oakland, and Valdez from Houston, all at plus 2,500. And I like this group of guys here too. I think there's great value in Dallas Keuchel, a former Cy Young Award winner, now with Chicago, throwing ground balls, low ERA, great defense behind him. I think him and Lynn may even be better bets than Giolito. But, you could argue with me Giolito at the top. But, again, I like the value. Just due to Giolito being less money won, I like the value of Keuchel and Lynn at plus 2,500 and plus 2,000. Now, Seattle's my surprise team this year. And if Seattle is really going to surprise and take that next step, Gonzalez is going to have to deal for them at the top of the rotation. So I like his value at plus 2,500. Then you also have Luzardo for Oakland. I mean, they ran him out there in the playoffs last year against top offenses, and he absolutely dealt. He was very good, and he is continuing to progress and continuing to develop. So Jesus Luzardo at plus 2,500 I think is fantastic value. So if you get Gonzalez, Keuchel, and Luzardo anywhere from plus 2,500 to plus 3,000, I think you got to think about putting $20, $25 on those guys, and you could get very, very solid return from them at that level. And just, and that's where I like the value in the American League much more than the National League, because even below them, when you get to the plus 300, or plus 3,000, plus 4,000, there's names on this list that I may take a flyer on. You get to plus 3,000, and you go down to Frankie Montas in Oakland, plus 3,500. But the guy I like all the way down at plus 4,000 is coming out of the Angels. I mean, a couple of Angel starters here. Shohei Ohtani and Dylan Bundy. Ohtani's at plus 4,000. Bundy's at plus 5,000. Now, you're probably going, dude, Ohtani, we've heard about this guy for years. He can't stay healthy. He's had arm injuries. But word coming out of camp is he's touching triple digits and is healthy again for the first time in a couple of years. And if you're at 100 miles an hour and you're able to get some starts by Ohtani, maybe they focus him more on the pitching side of things this year and worry less about being a designated hitter. He could surprise some people and put together some starts. I mean, his numbers and his stuff are fantastic. And at plus 4,000, putting $10 to win 400, I think that's a pretty solid bet when it comes to the value side of things. Same thing with Dylan Bundy. I mean, he had a fantastic year for the Angels last year, plus 5,000. Maybe worth in putting $5 down for $250 return. I mean, I know there's stuff going around about the ball and he's, juicing and all that good stuff. Well, not juicing, but, messing with the ball. So there could be a slight dip there, but I like him at plus 5,000. And as we continue down the list here, wrapping things up, you got Dobnak with the Twins at plus 5,000, Mize with the Tigers, Singer with the Royals, and then down at the bottom of the list, a couple of Astros, and Javier and Urquidy at plus 8,000. So, I mean, there's value all the way up and down. But like I said, at the top, Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole, Lucas Giolito are the top three. I think any of those are a safe bet. I do think they all finish in the top 5 to 7 when it comes to the Cy Young. The next level of Glasnow, Ryu, and Barrios, I would leave alone, honestly. And then I would look that step further and look to that value conversation of Lance Lynn plus 2,000, Dallas Keuchel plus 2,500, Shohei Ohtani plus 4,000, Jesus Luzardo plus 2,500, and then a couple of outside guys I actually don't see on the list in front of me, but I wrote down from some other sources, were Eloy Jimenez at plus 3,000. I think he's fantastic value. And then last one is Lance McCullers Jr. at plus 4,000 as the American League Cy Young. Because if the Astros step up without Verlander, Greinke getting to the tail end of his career, it's going to be the other guys in the rotation that really make the difference. So let me know who your favorite bets are out there. Both in the National League and the American League. Leave us a comment who you think's going to win the Cy Young. If you're putting your money on Garrett Cole, figuring things out now that he doesn't have to worry about off-season travel, he's much more comfortable in New York, he's better with his surroundings. If you think he figures things out, and then, of course, in the National League side of things, who you think ultimately is going to take it, whether it's DeGrom, Scherzer, or somebody else coming from the back of the pack to ultimately win the award. But that'll do it for today's episode. Monday, March 1st. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We had a fantastic show for you here again today. In segment number 1, we jumped all around opening day spring training. There's going to be more games played here every day. There were only 2 teams that didn't start out Sunday. They'll start out here today on Monday. So by Thursday's episode, we'll have a handful of games to discuss. We'll start to see some tendencies, who's starting hot, who's starting cold, who may be winning some battles. We then talked about milestones that could be reached here during the 2021 seasons. A lot of Albert Pujols, a lot of Miguel Cabrera. Conversation came up during that segment, so keep an eye out on those 2 guys as they progress potentially on the tail end of their career. Rumors are Pujols could step aside after this year, and I think Cabrera has a year or 2 left on his deal. But those guys have quite a few milestones they could reach. And then, of course, wrapping things up here with Cy Young conversation, trying to continue to win you guys money here as we transition into 2021. But before I step out, I'll ask you one more time, please like, rate, and review the podcast, subscribe, whatever social media platform you're on, hit the follow button, give us 5 stars. That goes a long way for continuing to grow the podcast here. But that'll do it for today's episode. I appreciate you guys listening as always. I'm your host, Kevin Mahalik. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic week out there, and I'll talk to everybody again on Thursday. We'll talk to you soon.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.